coming into this weekend, there were a couple of pre-race stories that I primarily was focused on. The first being Matt DiBenedetto. And we've talked about Matt DiBenedetto. I feel like a broken record at this point talking about him. But coming into this weekend with 14 total points in the first 3 races, really needed to come into this weekend under the mindset that we have to win this race. Matt DiBenedetto finished runner-up at both Vegas races in 2020, so you had to believe that this was their best shot and possibly their only shot at making the playoffs. So really needed to capitalize on stage points and, in my opinion, at the very least, finish top 5, but this team coming into the weekend had to be the mindset, we got to win now. It's our best chance. Otherwise, digging out of this early season hole, especially with the drivers that have won races so far this year, not putting themselves in a good position. So they really needed to show up, and we'll talk about it later on in the episode. I was interested in Roush Fenway Racing. They showed up last week at Homestead Miami Speedway and impressed the hell out of us. Chris Buescher, the debut winner of the Hard Chargin Award, laying down the most fastest laps in the race, and both Chris Buescher and Ryan Newman both ran top 10 majority most of that race, even though Chris Buescher got behind on pit stops, wasn't able to get back up front, but still, were we going to see the same speed at a similar track being Las Vegas? Will we see the same excitement as last week? We had a strong showing from the 550 horsepower package last week. I even said it was arguably the best 550 horsepower race that I have seen. But now Vegas totally excludes that, and we'll talk about that because this race was absolutely fantastic. And to go into it, this 550 horsepower package is so frustrating because we get races like these, but we also get races like Kansas last year in the playoffs that just has me back and forth. I still don't like this package. I really don't. This racing has been great, but it's just crazy just seeing how much of a 180 this package has done in the offseason. And I was curious because I was wondering if, were we using a new tire compound for this race? Same tire compound for this race as last year. So primarily it was, a product of the cool temperatures and the track just having a high grip level. Cars were able to stick to the surface a lot easier, and we were able to see, again, multiple grooves being used, like at Homestead, not necessarily as dominant maybe as Homestead or as defined as those grooves are. I just think the track conditions were perfect, and Vegas is in a similar situation with Homestead Miami, being that they haven't been repaved in quite a while. It's been Vegas was last repaved in 2006 and Homestead back in 2003 when they reconfigured it with the banking. So outside of those two tracks, Atlanta is the only 1.5 miles that has yet to be repaved. But hey, right now, this is what we need to get, and we have to enjoy it while it lasts. But we saw so much close racing once again. And the first stage, probably the best opening stage that I have ever seen since stage racing was implemented. And that's even including super speedway racing. We had 12 total passes for the lead in just stage 1, where in the fall race last year, we had 20 total green flag passes for the lead. 20 total, when we almost eclipsed that in stage 1. Nobody could get away. I mean, we saw the top 10 for 15, 20, 25, maybe even 30 laps be within a second of each other. We saw a group of 10 cars able to get away, but we weren't able to see the leader pull away from the pack. And that is what this package has been, riding off of, and we were finally really able to see it in action today. And we saw 3 wide for the lead for multiple laps. It was, I think, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, and Kyle Larson for 3 straight laps. Nobody given an inch. 3 wide for multiple laps, which was unbelievable at the front. So just all around, incredible stage 1. And it was interesting hearing drivers on their radio talk about how their car was, because we heard from guys like Ryan Blaney, for example, who was talking about running full throttle. I mean, the guys didn't even lift the gas pedal going through the corners. And so it was just amazing seeing these guys and just, understanding that guys like Hendrick Motorsports, who dominated most of this race, just how much faster they were, and there's nothing that these other guys can do about it because they're going flat out. So it just shows how much speed Hendrick Motorsports has shown early this year. But the tempo did slow down in stage 2. I got to say, it was very much a more ordinary mile-and-a-half stage that I think we're used to. There was a lack of cautions. We had green flag pit stops, which, yes, definitely adds a little bit of a strategic element to the race. But stage 1, we had a few cautions, and it bunched the field up together. We were able to see the restarts, which obviously were absolutely incredible and were lasting more than 2 laps this race. But the tempo did slow down, and guys like Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott continued to dominate this race. It was really a Penske-Hendrick Motorsports type day, with even Joe Gibbs in there as well. Gibbs had a strong showing, as we'll look down the list of drivers. But stage 3, I thought, was a perfect culmination of both stage 1 and stage 2. We had action, we had strategy with cautions, but we also had green flag runs in there as well. And we were also gifted with yet another impeccable Chase Elliott save. My God, Chase Elliott, the way that he is able to wheel these cars. I mean, the guy coming off turn 2 sideways barely gets into Kurt Busch, and Matt DiBenedetto doing a great job of avoiding that wreck. But Chase Elliott being able to keep it off the wall and keep that car going is just unfreaking believable. We saw it at the Daytona Road Course where he was sliding up in the grass and getting all squirrely, and now we see it again here. So that was just really, really awesome to watch. And Kyle Larson also, too, I'll say, I think learned from his mistake for not pitting for tires at the end of stage 1. If we remember, at the end of stage 1, some guys elected to stay out, some guys elected to pit, and tires obviously being a big advantage at these tracks. We saw Kyle Larson drop out of the top 10 in stage 1 and miss out on some points. So learning from his mistake here in stage 3, pitting with the leaders and keeping that track position with those new tires. He did, however, miss the entrance to pit road during green flag pit stops, but Brad Keselowski still, even at that, was not able to overtake the lead. So Kyle Larson was just remaining in control even with that little slip, but definitely made it a little more close and a little more exciting, as if it were not to happen. So all in all, an incredible race. Really, really impressed with the racing here at Las Vegas. And I'll tell you, advocates for the 550 horsepower package, you guys are really getting your money's worth this year. And as I've said, I still don't like the idea of guys driving wide open, right? You really shouldn't be having the need to not even lift your foot off the gas going around these mile-and-a-half tracks. So that part of it still I can't come to terms with, and I still think we need to get horsepower back in these cars. I'll continue to say it. But again, I cannot fault this racing right now. I can't say anything about it. It's absolutely fantastic, and I'm hoping that it continues and that we continue to get these stories, because it's been one hell of a start to the year in terms of the racing. We've had some controversy, but it's been great. It's been really, really great. And speaking of stories, we have to talk about our winner from this past weekend, Mr. Kyle Larson, who became the quickest driver to win for Rick Hendrick, and he gets his first win since being suspended by NASCAR back in April. And I have to start with this. I have to apologize to all you Kyle Larson fans, because I absolutely whiffed on Kyle Larson at the start of the season. I really did not think that he was going to be much of a threat to start because of him being out of the car for so long. I really thought that the one-day shows was really gonna hurt him and his team chemistry, because we look at this crew and we look at this team that he inherited. This is the 48 crew of last year. This team has not seen victory lane since 2017, and they haven't seen the playoffs since 2018. So, this team has really been struggling, and it was constantly being talked about because their driver's 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson, and he's at the end of his career, and they were obviously always in the news because they were underperforming compared to other cars. But even at that, Hendrick Motorsports, yes, they have gotten better. Yes, Chase Elliott is the defending champion, but maybe I just underestimated Hendrick Motorsports this year, because, they've come out and they are looking like the class of the field right now. William Byron and Kyle Larson, we haven't even been able to see what Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman are made of. I still believe Alex Bowman's going to have a really good year, and Chase Elliott, obviously, you can't count him out anywhere. So we haven't even been able to see that. And just based on, what we have seen so far to start the season, Hendrick Motorsports, man, looks really, really good. And maybe I just underestimated their improvements. I just really didn't see it coming. And despite how talented Kyle Larson is, I know he is, arguably the greatest driver in North America at this moment, but I really just didn't think that this would mold together so quickly. But hey, maybe Hendrick Motorsports is just that good this year, and it's being shown early on. But we did say that last year. Alex Bowman was strong, won at California early last year, and then, pandemic hiatus and all that stuff, and they really didn't show much else for the majority of the season outside of Chase Elliott. Maybe I never realized just how much Chip Ganassi Racing was holding Kyle Larson back. I mean, Kyle Larson's first career win, I feel like people were talking about, it's going to be week after week after week after week. We're just waiting for it to happen, and it never did until his 99th start. And, we talk about Kyle Larson as one of the most incredible talents to ever walk in NASCAR, and, Tony Stewart calling him the most talented driver right now, and rightly so, because Kyle Larson, during his suspension, raced 82 dirt races this year, or in 2020, and parked his car in victory lane on 42 occasions. 42, which is basically half, a little more than half than that. So, he's used to getting into a car with not much prep, and he's extremely adaptable. So, with all that in consideration, I totally and absolutely, completely was wrong on Kyle Larson. But hey, that's even more of an incentive to go subscribe to the YouTube channel to hear some of the outlandish things that I talk about. But hey, all jokes aside, Kyle Larson really looks like he can contend for the championship this year, and we're going to be seeing, even in these early stages, just how good these guys are on mile and a halves. Hendrick Motorsports 2 for 2 on mile and a halves right now. And with Kyle Larson, outside of the Daytona road course, where he almost was in position to win that race, has been off to an incredible start. So early success. It's great to see the 48 crew. As a Jimmy Johnson fan, it's great to see the 48 crew back in victory lane. And the story with Kyle Larson, his return back to the Cup Series, getting a lot of respect right now from, I think, a lot of people. And it's great to see him back in victory lane. He's fought really hard, and it's good to see him back.